We got to talk about Phil Mickelson.
So I'm going to give you the whole Phil Mickelson story because it is a good story. First bit of information you need to know is back to Kevin Dillon's dad. In addition to being, golf coach and all that stuff, he was a really good portrait painter. Kevin Dillon has a weird history of art. Like one of his uncles was a famous comic artist and stuff like that. He painted a portrait of Phil Mickelson in mid swing, but he painted him right-handed. But still found its way to Phil. And years later, Dillon got the chance to ask Phil. And Phil, I think he said it still like hangs in his house because it's such a funny conversation piece where people will walk in. It's like, hey, why are you swinging right-handed? So there's a relationship there. A year after that, the Ari character makes a joke about Phil Mickelson. And it might have been in the Yom Kippur episode where Ari says, oh, this kid's melting down like Mickelson at Winged Foot, because we were only a year removed from the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. So now we cut to a year after that. Kevin Dillon and I are playing out in San Diego. Might have been the Farm or the Bridges, somewhere out there in San Diego where Phil's a member of. And we're finishing, and Phil's just showing up. And to Dillon's credit, he went right up to him, brought up the portrait thing. I think that's how we learned that Phil actually likes the painting and still has it. And then Dillon asked him, like, you want to be on the show? And Phil, I think, said like, yeah, it was really cool. It's like my favorite show. But then one night my wife and I are watching and you guys took that cheap shot at me, but like laughed it off. And we called Doug Ellen right away. And Doug, to his credit, got to work on that script. And then, yes, me and Dillon, who were not in that episode, absolutely drove. And we played golf because we had the whole course to ourselves. So Dillon and I were bouncing around holes. And then we even did play a few holes with Phil. I saw Phil hit a 310-yard drive that was never higher than 15 yards high. And he started it out over the wall. It just was one of the crazier shots I've ever seen in my life. And in one of the holes, we weren't really playing for money, but I think I had like a 11-foot par putt and he had like a 30-foot birdie putt, and he told me to pick it up. I'm like, why? You're basically giving us a half. I was like, no, I'm going to make the putt. Your par is good. And he sinks like a 30-foot side-winding downhill putt for birdie and wins the hole. So that was a dream. I mean, the situations we had with Entourage were crazy. And for some reason, athletes took to the show even more. You would think actors and maybe musicians. No, it was really athletes that took to the show.